This is exactly where we are. And let me start with a question. What's the difference between United States and Europe? Just looking at these slides. So the difference is mostly here, the three dots that you see there. Because we put, for Europe, we put all the brands that we are aware of, that are able to make to produce relevant results. And so the last one is Simple, being acquired by BBVA. So there are some relevant examples, a really leading example of new tech companies that are coming out from Europe. The problem is that the deal flow of companies that are able to really scale up and become global leaders, become unicorns, just a small number still. And so we need to make an impact in increasing the number of the logo that we can put at the bottom of the slides. That's our goal. Please, next. So let's start from the positives. The positives that compared to 5 years ago, Europe is a totally different place to be. We have almost in every country all over Europe, we have vital, growing startup ecosystems. I'm talking not just about startups, I'm talking about startup ecosystems because we have startups, we have accelerators, we have incubators, we have investors. So you have all of what is required to produce results in terms of exit. What is still missing? I think that the first point is not a problem. I think mortality for startups is part of the game. The second point is pretty more important. There is still a cultural gap between Europe and the US. It's about the exit and the acquire culture that is not widespread. And so we need to start working to produce fundamentally exit, because as we discussed yesterday, exit are the engine of a vital, growing ecosystem. And fourth of all, the fourth point is pretty important, is that we have a large continent, but we are still split in different and small countries. And so unless we are able to approach this problem with a real comprehensive European approach, I think we are going to fail. Because each country also pick up the big one that you can pick is still small compared to our role model that are the US. Please, next. So that's why we started the European Commission Startup Europe Partnership. Is the Startup Europe initiative, and easy to mention. It's part of a different line of actions that I'm not going to explain. The point here is to focus on just one target, that is to help European startups to scale up and become global leaders. Next. We have a group of stakeholders, is either mentioned to them, so I'm not going to repeat it. Next. And now, today, we have a new members that I'd like to welcome, and because for us it's a great add-on, and it's Telecom Italia. And then we are also building an ecosystem, not just about corporate that are our main partners, but also we need to be relevant also for other partners. So we are partnering with AngelList. We just got, between other investor community, we have Endeavor, that is a large US organization that is going to support what we are doing. We have Startup Bootcamp, we have many other accelerators and incubators coming on board. We have investor funds, just some names, but we are creating and we are living and we are exploiting a large ecosystem, because the only thing we can make in order to succeed is to be able to represent the best from Europe. And so how do you I'm planning to do that? Just putting the best together. And so the best meaning entrepreneurs and startups. This program is really focused on the best startups. Sorry, not for every startup in Europe, but should be the ambitions of every startup in Europe. If you come to Startup Europe Partnership, mean that you are qualified to move to the next level. You have the chance to become a meaningful, successful global company. Doing what? Being backed by investors and accelerators that will help us with the deal flow. backed by corporate, by university, that will help us to understand what are the real things that can make the difference in the corporate startup interaction, and working with large corporates. Because in Europe, probably we don't have the tech giants, the high-tech giants, but we have a lot of large corporate that can really help these startups to grow up. Not just because they have this positive attitude to helping other people, because it's for their interest, the strict interest. They should have an urgency to do that, because this is the way they can innovate and become high-tech leader. Next. So we are doing that. We will start mapping all the startups from all over Europe, exploiting our network of accelerators, incubators, universities, trying to understand what are the best candidates from all over Europe, meaning all the countries, not just the main countries. We will start filtering this data, we'll start mapping this data, we'll start collecting data about this data with a customized platform developed by Angelis, specifically for Startup Europe partnership. Together we'll start analyzing this data to understand what they need and how they could best interact with corporates. Next. And then we start putting them in front of large corporates that are committed to do three things: procurement, investment, and acquisition. Not marketing, procurement, investment, and acquisition. And so we will, for each event, for each matching event, as the one that we are having today, we will prepare sort of, we will do our scouting from all over Europe based on some indication that we got from the corporates. They will indicate what are the verticals, what are the key areas of interest, the technologies, the stage of the startup that are really interested to take a look at. Then we'll filter, we'll submit a long list, this list to become a short list, and this short list would be a group of startups will be invited to come to these matching events that are going to be replicated in every country all over Europe. And will be real European matching events. Today we are in Naples, but the number of Italian startups that will be admitted to the matching events this afternoon is just limited. We are startups flying here over here from all over Europe. And the corporates that are here are coming from all over Europe. It's just a physical place one to make this happen, but it's strictly and geographically related. In this way, we also help the local ecosystem because they get exposed to something coming from abroad. Next. And then there is another piece that is pretty important, because I think that all the corporates, and today we have pretty large corporates, we have corporates that have already a lot of experience in doing this. And so the typical question they ask me is, what are we supposed to do something like this? We know. We have our corporate accelerators, we have our corporate venture arm, we have a lot of experience in buying from startups. Most of them are also exploiting different geographies, not just one. So why Startup Europe partnership for them could be meaningful? Because they can learn from each other. Because there are different experiences, different best practices can be shared to understand how you best run an accelerators, how to avoid to make mistakes, how to best interact with startups. So one point is that our large corporates are really, really relevant, but most of the best startups are not really, really interested to take a look at them. And so we need to make them interesting for startups too. Next. And so we will start sharing, and this morning we'll have pretty two interesting panels where we can really go deep into these topics, and more we'll do in the following matching events. So for each matching events we'll have open session where we can really discuss from a pragmatic point of view with data point what could be the best way to make this startup corporate interaction work and work nicely. And so this morning we have this open session. We have two panels that we will start right after the introduction. And in the afternoon will be a closed session. This is restricted to the Startup Europe partnership members when the real matching will happen. We have 9 startups invited that come out from 200 plus that we have been filtered and look at it. Again, it's just we are taking a look at the top quality startups based also on the indication of the corporates that are gave us, and this is how it works. Next. As Isidro mentioned, we are a startup, and so we are starting testing the market even before our official launch event. The official launch event will be on the 22nd of May in Brussels. President Barroso, Vice President Neelie Kroes will announce it, and we will provide more and more details for the press. But this is still in beta phase. Next. What's next? Naples is our first matching event. Will be in Madrid on the 26th of June, sorry. And then probably we'll do something around in Rome, September, October, with the Makers Fair. It could be a good chance to take a look at certain growing technologies that could be pretty cool. Then we'll be in London in November, together with an event that's called Silicon Valley Comes to the UK, one of the main events in Europe, and probably we'll do something in Paris in December. This is our draft agenda. Some changes could happen, but this is our plan is to have 3-4 additional matching events before the end of the year. Next. We are presenting what we're doing all over Europe. We've been in Madrid, Barcelona, in California. We'll be in Paris in June. We'll be still in Italy. We've been in Brussels. So we're trying to also trying to explain what we're trying to do here. What you're doing is so different. We got some good media coverage. I think is not relevant at this point, and I think we are ready to start. Thank you. So we're in Italy, and I think it's a good thing to understand what the Italian government is doing. And so I asked Stefano Firpo from the Italian government to give us our welcome on behalf of the Italian government, and specifically to tell us what they are planning to do with all these things.